Steve, my good man, how the devil are you?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm very good, my friend. It's rained pretty much non-stop for 5 days, so welcome to summer in Scotland.
Summer in Scotland, mate. We've had a blazer the last few days. It's been hot as down here. It's been quite nice. Too hot to work, in fact. So
I like when it's too hot to work.
It is. Yeah, it's too sticky, too oppressive. You know what the British summer heat's like.
Yeah.
It's oppressive. It's horrible. And we don't really have the nice beaches like they have abroad. So, well, like this part of the country. Anyway.
Well, I mean, there's Great Yarmouth.
Yeah, we haven't got any good beaches.
Great Yarmouth, literally legitimately the only beach I've ever been on and seen actual needles kicking about. And actually, you and I, when we were walking along Great Yarmouth Beach, found a bag of something that looked a lot like heroin.
We did, yeah. We tried to take some pictures of it, didn't we? But it started to rain.
Yeah, I think I have got pictures of it on my phone somewhere.
Have you? That was definitely a wrap or something, just buried at the bottom of the cliff, wasn't it?
Well, that's it. When I'm like, there's a little brown wrap, I'm like, what else can it be? It's not going to be hash. I'm pretty sure that's heroin.
I'm pretty sure it's heroin. So, yeah, welcome to Norfolk.
Yeah, exactly. The rest of Norfolk's actually okay. A bit boring, but okay. And then there's Yarmouth.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's stop insulting the nice seaside town near us, eh?
Good old Yarko.
Exactly. I hear you had quite a frantic weekend, Steve. A full house.
Oh, mate, full house. So it's Enzo's birthday tomorrow or today, if you're listening to this on day of release. 4 years old. So we had some of his friends round Saturday for a little bit of a get together. So we had a house full of about, I can't remember exactly how many, eight or nine kids ranging from 4 to about 10.
Oh, it's just too much for me, man. Like, I grew up in a large family. I'm very used to having a lot of kids running around. And as I said to you before, I used to work at our local nursery. So I'm very used to kids. But, like, now, if I had, like, 8 kids invading my house space, my own private space, I'd be raging. I wouldn't be able to deal with it, mate. You're a much stronger human being than me.
Vodka helps.
Okay, now I understand. I could definitely deal with it if there was vodka involved.
Yeah, I didn't have much. We had to be sensible. But no, they weren't too bad. The house, we only have a small house, but if the sun was out, they were nicely spread around. There's some outside, some in the conservatory, some sitting right here in my seat.
If I were you, I'd have been just like moving all the podcast gear, everything up high out of the way.
It had already been stashed, mate. The desk was empty, and it's still a little bit sticky because Sarah put all the food on it.
At least it's sticky with food and not just sticky with like gross kid fingers.
It's probably a mixture. There's some suspect bits on here which I really don't want to know what it is.
Or there's 8 potential children whose snot that could be.
Yes, yeah, they're all getting the Rona. No, it was pretty hectic, but it didn't last long. We only had them around for a few hours, and we just loaded them all up with sugar and fucked them all out the door.
And then just sent them back to the parents.
Yeah, here's your sugar hype child. Have fun.
Oh, well, that's the way to do it, mate. At least it's an eventful time, and I guess the day flies by when you're busy like that.
It does, yeah. Some of these kids are hilarious as well. Some of the stuff they come out with is cracking. It's golden. Yeah. I must have pulled the kettle about 50 times because every time you drop that button, Steve, what do you want?
Every single time. Can I have this? I'm trying to make a cuppa, mate. Please? Okay.
Yeah, we put all the food out and they just come up to you with like half-eaten stuff. And like, even if they're chewing on it and they don't like it, it's just like... spit it into the hand. Like, here you go.
That's Christmas. So good. And I wish I could still do that. I am quite envious of kids' just ability to give 0 fucks, man. Because I wish if I was sitting in a restaurant and eating something that was a bit gross, I wish I could just spit it out and just get rid. Because that would be gold. Like, but you can't do that. You've just got to swallow it.
Yeah, literally. It's hilarious what they could get away with.
Yeah.
So much. Absolutely, so much. They're so innocent, but there's that stage where you have to start training them. It's not okay.
Yeah, okay, it was fine until you hit 4 years old, but now things have got to change, I'm afraid.
Yes, yeah. I draw the line on a great many things. There's one come toddling through to me halfway through the day. He didn't have too much juice. I was the only adult in the conservatory bit. No one else in here. And he just comes walking in through the garden. Need a wee. Just looks at me. I was like, well, you can fuck right off.
You're like, well, you better go find a responsible adult who's not me to deal with this situation.
Yes. I'm just like, whose is this? Needs a wee.
You're just knocking around every parent there. Excuse me, mate, is this yours? This yours? This one? Anybody's? Needs a piss? Yeah. Anyone? Yes. Oh, that's too good, mate. Too good. Well, that's the sensible choice, Steve. You did that. You didn't get accused of anything. The child didn't piss themselves. Everything is okay.
Everyone's happy.
Good stuff, my friend. Right, Steve, I think we've got quite a short show this week, Steve. Not a lot's going on in the MotoGP world, but shall we just dive straight into it?
Let's go straight for it, mate. There's not a lot of news, but I'm sure we could waffle on for a bit.
Exactly. Right, guys. I'm Tim. I completely forgot the intro then, Steve. I was like, "What? How do I do this bit?" I think I'm just going to start, but that's not how it goes. So I'm Tim. He's Steve, and this is for the love of MotoGP. If you're new to MotoGP, guys, don't forget to check out our Introduction to MotoGP show. It tells you everything you need to know to start enjoying the sport that we all love. We run through the teams, the riders, the storylines. We run through the point system. To be honest, Steve, I was so drunk in that show, I can't remember what else we ran through, but it was a 2.5 hour monster. I know we ran through a lot of stuff.
Well, you ran through a case of beer.
Yeah, there was a lot of booze that day. But yes, check it out, guys.
It's a good show. It will give you the basics of what you will need to know to understand MotoGP.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Just scroll back through the podcast feed, guys. You'll find it. I think it's called... I should really have this bit written down. I think it's called Introduction to MotoGP 2021. Yeah. And the intention is to release a new one, actually, for the start of the 2022 season. And maybe I'll be a little bit more sober in that one.
No.
Nah, probably not. Let's dive into the news then, Steve. And the first bit of news, Mav's back, baby.
He is back, yes. Minus Goose. He's not really missed a lot. He's going to be back for Misano.
Yeah, what's he missed? Like 2 rounds? 3 rounds?
No. Oh, was it Aragon? No, it's Aragon. He's back for Aragon, isn't he?
Yeah, he's back for Aragon. He's back this weekend for this race we've got coming up.
Yes, sorry, I thought it was Misano. I get myself all confused. Yeah, he's missed 1 race. 2 races.
2 races. Was it the second Austria race and Silverstone?
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, that's crazy. Left the team, got a new job, started work the next week. Cracking. Boy's loving it.
He is loving it. And reportedly he's taken a massive pay cut to do so. But Steve, I'm very pro. You know this. If you need to take a pay cut, but you're going to have a better quality of life, I'm very on board with that. And that's
absolutely
why I earn so little in the world.
But you lead a good life.
Exactly. I kind of just go for the life I want to lead. And Mav's doing this. And let's be fair, Mav's reportedly taking a massive pay cut, but still earning a shit ton of money. So don't feel sorry for him.
No, his kind of pay cut we'd be happy with.
Yeah, I think it's reported, I was reading, that he's taken a €5 million pay cut. But he's still earning somewhere reportedly around €2 million on this Aprilia deal. So, like, he's not hard up, let's be fair.
No, he's going to be all right. He's still going to be able to pay his mortgage.
Yes, exactly. If he's actually got a mortgage by this point, because he has been riding for Yamaha for the last 4 or 5 years. So I'm sure actually. Yeah, exactly. He's got 6 houses and they're all paid off. Happy days. I don't actually know that. I don't really know much about him. But yes, he's going to be riding Aragon this weekend, replacing Lorenzo Savadori. Savadori is going to be returning to testing duties aboard the RSGP.
Yep.
And there is obviously an option of wildcard races later in the year.
Oh, it's still not a bad deal for him.
No, exactly. I mean, Lorenzo Savadori sort of fluked into this seat out of nowhere, got, half a season on it. He wasn't on the bike last year, was he? Or was he?
He was on for a couple of races towards the end of the season, wasn't he?
Yeah, after they dropped Smith, right?
Yeah, I think he got the last 2 rounds, something like that, 2 or 3 rounds. So
okay, after he'd won... Yes, that's it, because he just won the Italian Superbike Championship for Aprilia, so they bump him up to the MotoGP seat. So, unexpected. He never thought he was going to get the ride. He's done almost a whole season on the bike then, and he's still going to be their test rider. And at the end of the day, yes, he's not covered himself in glory in MotoGP, but he's not been an embarrassment, has he? No. He's still going to go on to a very healthy career in some form of racing, or just stay with Aprilia and they'll just keep paying him the big bucks to just ride around in circles and do the testing.
Yeah, exactly. Like you say, he sort of just fell into it unexpectedly, filling in after Bradley Smith left. He picked up the role for this year. He's been injured, but like you say, he's not languished at the back of the field, tenths of seconds off the back of the grid. He's mixed it up. He's improved. We've seen a bit of improvement, so he can walk away with his head held high.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, at the moment, he's injured still from that crash with Dani Pedrosa in Austria, so he's actually not going to be any good probably for the next few races at least. We know he had to pull out of Silverstone after just being too sore. So, this just gives him more time to recover and just get back into his testing role, really.
So we wish him all the best.
Yes, certainly. And I'm sure we'll see him again. I'm not going to be overly excited to see him again, but I'm also not raging about the idea of seeing him again. So, I think it's just fine with whatever happens. As long as he's still getting paid, as long as Aprilia are looking after him, happy days.
Exactly. All is well.
That's it. So Maverick's talking about using these final 6 races of 2021, Steve, to prepare himself for next year. He wants to work on his riding rather than working on the bike. He did say something like he needs to just I think his words were something like, give me Aleix's bike. When I am as fast as Aleix, then we can talk about how to improve the bike.
Yeah.
It's a big change.
Yeah. That seems to be something that he's never really done in the past. He's always tried to change everything to himself, hasn't he? We've commented on this, where he sort of just expects everything to mould to his style, his way of doing things, and that everything's just going to kind of slot on like a suit of armour and it'll just be perfect. It's quite nice to hear him talking that he's going to have to work on his riding style. We know he's posted some good times so far. So, if he's going to use the rest of this year to learn that bike, then cracking.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of learning, man, that needs to be done here. We've got to think about it. He's never ridden a V4 in MotoGP before. He's only ever ridden the inline fours, being the Suzuki and the Yamaha. He's on a bike that isn't going to have the same cornering prowess as either the Suzuki or the Yamaha. It's not going to be... it's not going to be the high corner speed machine. It's very stable under braking, from what we're told. But he's going to have to get used to the idea of hammering it on the brakes. Now, Aleix Espargaro has been talking about this, how late he has to brake, because that's where the bike's good. And so Maverick's got to learn to do that. And then once he's learned to do that, he's matching Aleix. He's got used to the V4. He's got used to this new hammering the brakes on, squaring the corner off, blasting it out, as opposed to those long sweeping Yamaha lines or Suzuki lines, really. Then he can talk about starting to move on with the machine and work on the development. But we've only seen him for 2 days of testing. But the pictures, man, he's smiling in the pit box. He looks so happy. It's very unusual for Mav to be this stoked about something.
I think it's the new project thing. I mean, how many times have we seen him in the past, topping a test, and he's all smiles then? It feels a little bit to me like the old Mav still.
You think the testing champion? Because you actually pointed this out, I guess, where you were saying that he's been fast and been really fast in this first test, but he's always fast in a test. Yeah.
How many times do we come away from a winter test session and he's topped timing sheets? And then gets to a race situation and he's completely different. So, I'm still holding my breath a little bit. It is nice, you're right, to see him smiling, see him happy. And it might have just been because he's had so many seasons at Yamaha and probably been under quite a bit of pressure from them to improve, or a hell of a lot of pressure. Now he's got something different. And it's probably going to do him the power of good. Reset his mental state, take some pressure off. He's not at this stage halfway or more than halfway through a season. He's not going to be expected to do anything.
Yeah, that's exactly it, isn't it? Because like you say, I imagine every year he starts with Yamaha and Yamaha are looking at him being like, you're going to win the championship this year. And he's got the championship pressure. For the next 6 races at least, the pressure from Aprilia is just go out and have fun, learn the bike. And next year, I mean, Massimo Rivola, I was reading an interview with him, and he was saying, obviously the team boss of Aprilia, he was saying that Aprilia aren't going to be challenging for the title in 2022. He was saying maybe we can challenge in 2023. But the rest of 21 and 22 is just about developing, building the bike, building the team. Maybe we can make a title challenge in 23. So Mav's got no pressure on him for the next 6 races. Yes, the following year there's some pressure, but Aleix is also there. Mav and Aleix get on very well. I think they're going to really shoulder the burden of pressure together. I think this could be a very potent mix, and I think I'm very much looking forward to seeing what happens here.
Yeah, me too. And I completely agree. Like Mav and Aleix do get on really well. But I think come next year, there's going to be more pressure on Aleix to win
to stay on top of
to be the top dog. There's going to be more pressure on him and less pressure on Mav. I think anyway. So come next year, I think he could strut into that pit box, free as a bird. Just simply being told this, but all you've got to do is progress through this year. Don't crash, finish consistently, improve, put the time in, and then next year, 2023, you're going to be challenging for the championship. So he's got a free card this coming season to just get on top of himself, get on top of the bike. It's going to be interesting to see how he handles it, because a free situation is something that he hasn't experienced for a long time. So,
well, arguably, he's never experienced this situation of just feeling free and with no pressure. There's stories, isn't there, about when he first rode for Suzuki in that first MotoGP race, and he finished, I can't remember, but it was in the top 5 or top 6, I think. It was a very respectable finish. And he came back into the pit box crying because he was convinced he was going to win that race. So even from his very first race in MotoGP, for Suzuki, who were a start-up team at the time, he was convinced he was going to win, so he was piling all that pressure on him. He's not going to be piling that pressure on himself now. The team aren't piling the pressure on him. I bet he's never ridden in MotoGP with the freedom and the lack of pressure that he's going to have with Aprilia.
No, I mean, that shows, back then he was a lot younger, just how much pressure he piles on himself, like so. This is going to be an interesting situation, and for us to see how he handles it, I think we're either going to see one or two ways. He's either going to come out and exceed all our expectations just because he's got that lack of pressure, or he's going to just be the standard map.
Yeah. That's the worry, isn't it? The worry is he comes out and puts it on the box in his first race or something, and gets a 3rd place, gets a decent podium, even if he gets it in some top 6 or something, and then he'll be like, right, I can do this, and then it crumbles. Yeah.
So I think it's going to be one or the other. I don't think there's going to be any in between.
No, I think you're probably right. Let's move it on then, Steve. More MotoGP news here. Jake Dixon will be once again riding for the Petronas Yamaha squad.
Aye.
He's going to be on that M1, still replacing Franco Morbidelli, who's off injured. And John McPhee from Moto 3 will be stepping up to fill Dixon's Moto 2 ride, obviously also within the Petronas Sprinter family there, so it all makes sense to move these guys around like this. I don't have really a strong feeling about Dixon riding in MotoGP again one way or the other. I think it's fine. I think, I hope to see a steady improvement from last week.
Yeah.
But then he's on an old machine, and, Aragon probably isn't the track for an old Yamaha so much.
No, just more experience, really. It's just going to be nice to see if he can just improve from Silverstone. A vastly different track, so it might suit him better. We never know. I'm more interested to see McPhee on a Moto 2 bike than what I am Dixon on a MotoGP bike.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm actually quite excited about seeing John McPhee on a Moto2 bike. John Dixon. Combine the two. The love child of John McPhee and Jake Dixon is John Dixon. No, John McPhee, I'm very much looking forward to seeing on a Moto2 machine. I mean, he's been in Moto3 for what feels like a fucking eternity, Steve. I don't know how long he's actually been in Moto3 for, but I think he's been racing in Moto3 for as long as I've been watching it. And I started watching Moto3 whenever BT Sport took over coverage, which I think was 2014.
I think so, yeah. It does feel like he's been in Moto3 an absolute age.
He must be near the age limit, because what is the age limit for Moto3? Is it 28?
I think 28, that was the number I had in my head.
And he's got to be near that.
He must be near that. He can't be more than a couple of years away from it.
No, he's certainly got more facial hair than anyone on the grid, except maybe Fanati.
Yeah, Fanati's got a pretty good beard. So, I don't know. He's getting close to the age limit, I'm sure of it. But yeah, I'm just interested to see what he could do.
Yeah, me too. And it's a good test for him and a good audition for him, because he's going to be he needs a ride next year. He hasn't got a ride next year. He's got to get one. So, and he wants to go to Moto2. He arguably should have been in Moto2 this year, except for some weird contract wording that really mugged him off. So the team mugged him off by not putting him to Moto2 this year. They mugged him off again by folding the team.
He's not had a good situation with his Moto2 progression, has he?
No, he's just been stuck.
Yeah. So, by the way, it's like when you can't get past Go on the Monopoly board.
Yeah, go straight to jail. Straight to Moto3. Do not pass Go. Do not collect £200.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd just be like, 200 quid, fuck off.
Yeah, fair.
2 million quid, yes.
Oh, mate, he's definitely not earning that money. I don't know what kind of money the top guys in Moto3 earn, and that's whether you would qualify him as a top guy in Moto3 or not. Some people will, some people won't. I think he probably is one of the faster guys, but he's not a championship contender.
Not quite.
So I don't know if he's even earning money for his ride. I assume he is, but I assume it's not a huge amount.
No, 50 grand.
I would guess somewhere around there. The 50 to 100 grand line would be where I would be guessing at. But I don't know that. It's just speculation on my part.
Yeah, that's just numbers we're putting out there.
Yeah, exactly. But, if he goes on and if he scores points on his Moto2 debut, bearing in mind this will give him, 4 sessions before qualifying, 3 sessions before qualifying, and then qualifying, then the race. If he puts it in the points, mate, that's a fucking great weekend. I think if he's anywhere not in last, I think it's been a good weekend.
Yeah, top 20, I would say, would be good. Yeah. Anything above that, absolute bonus. I mean, if you had to put like a dream number out there, top 10 would be like a podium. Points, cracking. Just finish the race all day long.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a top 10 is probably unrealistic. Points,
I think it is, but
maybe could happen in a weird race. But like you say, top 20 is a good result. And if it's points, fuck me, man. There's going to be some Moto2 teams wanting his signature.
Yes, absolutely. This is his opportunity to put his CV out there and just showcase what he can do.
Yeah.
All right. So we will see.
We will see. Now, there's also rumours, Steve, that Yamaha would prefer to see Jake Dixon full-time on their satellite machine next year than they would to see Darren Binder. It's an interesting rumour that's come about, and one that I actually completely understand. As you know, I'm not sold on the idea of a Moto3 rider coming up to MotoGP. We've seen it once before. And Jack Miller really struggled. And like I said last time we spoke about this, Jack Miller was a fucking phenom in Moto3, and Darren Binder just sadly isn't. Not to say he's not a fast rider, because he's rapid, but he's not Jack Miller level.
No, he's not quite up to that caliber yet.
No, exactly. I mean, Jack Miller was fighting for the title up to the very last race before he ended up jumping up to MotoGP. And actually, if he'd been just a little bit less crashy across the season, he probably would have won the title that year. Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. But yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't like to see the big jump from Moto3 to MotoGP. It doesn't always pay off. Sometimes well, I mean, it's happened once and arguably didn't pay off.
Yeah. I don't know. These guys obviously see more than what we do. Yeah, I think if I was Yamaha management, I'd be looking at the steady progression, not the bigger risk of taking someone straight from Moto3 into MotoGP. I'd be looking straight down into Moto2, and if you've got someone who's already tried the MotoGP bike, got a little bit of experience with it, then they're going to be my natural choice.
And experience on a bigger bike as well. Let's not forget that Dixon came from the British Superbike paddock, so he knows his way around a bigger bike. Binder doesn't so much know his way around a bigger bike at the moment. So it looks like Yamaha are trying to find the money to buy Binder out of his contract. And I think if you're Yamaha, you'd probably offer to buy him out of his contract and then look at getting him a Moto2 seat, wouldn't you? Get him into Moto2, give him time to progress, and then maybe you say, look, as Yamaha, we'll get you into Moto2, and then in a year or two, we'll look at getting you into MotoGP.
Yeah, there's going to have to be some sort of progression to tempt him over. But like you say, give him a Yamaha contract, so he will be naturally progressing up, guaranteed.
Yeah.
But yeah, get him, put him in Moto2, and keep Dixon on the MotoGP machine.
Yes. And this is something I hadn't realised, actually, while I was reading about this rumour, is that Yamaha aren't sure they can find the money to buy him out of his contract. Obviously, they were going to try and buy Raul Fernandez out of his contract. That was going to cost $500,000. I'm sure Binder's contract, the buyout clause, is way less than that.
Must be.
But Yamaha have already signed Dovi to a factory contract, so they are having to pay his wages for next year, and I'm sure Dovi is commanding quite the sum.
Probably.
So, now they're not so sure they can afford to then buy out Binder as well. Because at the end of the day, actually, if Binder is the one in that team next year, it's a Petronas contract or an SRT contract or whoever the fuck they're going to be next year contract. So, Yamaha won't have to pay for him at all. They're just going to have to sit there and hope he does well.
Yeah. Is it this weekend we find out, is it the announcement of who they'll be next year?
No, it's Mazzano, isn't it? Because we were speculating with you being the Italian energy manufacturer or energy supplier that it will be announced there.
Yes, that's it. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah. Right, let's go on to slightly off topic, still sort of in Moto2, and it's just a brief one here. Because we just don't really have a huge amount of news. But Sam Lowes is going to be running a marathon at the end of the year in order to... Oh, and actually, to be honest, when I read that Sam Lowes is running a marathon for charity, I was like, well, that's not really that impressive. Sam Lowes is like an ultra-fit athlete here. Like, you'd expect him to be able to run a marathon. Yeah, well, that's sort of what I was thinking. Like, these guys are fucking fit as. Like, there's... no doubt in my mind that Sam Lowes can run a marathon. But I looked into it. Turns out he's never run a marathon before and he wants to do it. But he's also raising money for the top 2 finishers in the British Talent Cup this year. So I assume this is just a lump sum to go to them. It's just going to help them further their careers into... I don't know, where do you go from British Talent Cup? Do you go into the CEV? I assume.
It must be the CEV. So I think all these... regional, national championships, like the Northern Talent Cup, I think they then all get amalgamated together and become CEV when you step up.
Which is essentially a Junior World Championship, isn't it, CEV?
Yeah. And then from there, is it Red Bull Rookies?
No, so Red Bull Rookies and the Junior World Championship run side by side, don't they? And you can race in both because they're always on different weekends, which is why we saw... Pedro Acosta winning the Red Bull Rookies and coming third in the Junior World Championship, or CV, in the same year that Izan Guevara won Junior World Championship. And both of them rose up to Moto3.
Yeah, remember now.
I believe, actually, now I'm thinking about it, that there is a British Talent Cup team in the Junior World Championship. Obviously, we know John McPhee rode for their Moto3 Grand Prix team for a while, but I think they scrapped that and they just went to the Junior World Championship. So I assume that's part of the progression as well. You win, you jump up to the Junior World Championship with the British Talent Cup team.
I think so, yeah. I'm pretty sure there is one there.
Does that mean there's also... Now, I have to admit, I haven't watched a huge amount of the Junior World Championship, but is there also a Northern Talent Cup team? Is there an Asia Talent Cup team?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's quite a few now, I think. There's definitely the Asia Talent Cup, Northern Talent Cup, and I can't remember. I think there might be 1 or 2 more. I think they should do like more and more. Get some more talented people in from different continents.
Yeah, certainly. And I really like these Talent Cups because I think I specifically like them as well because the way of British riders getting to the top class, it's all superbikes. Everything is superbikes. And we've seen that. And that's why the World Superbike grid is so full of British riders. But very few of them make it over to the Grand Prix paddock. Whereas Spain, which is obviously the CEV, Italy, which is the CIV, they are running Grand Prix machinery, the Moto3, Moto2 machines, from a very early age. And then they jump up into the Grand Prix paddock, and it works seamlessly. Whereas in Britain or the UK, sorry, we are running, superbikes. So I like these talent cups. Now the British talent cups they are running much closer to Grand Prix spec machinery, and that way they can start on Grand Prix spec machinery and they can just work their way up through the classes like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. It's nice now that they've got options as well. If you want to be a racer and you don't quite fit, or your style doesn't quite match a essentially stock or hyped road bike, you can try prototypes.
Yeah, exactly.
And see how you get on. Whereas years ago, like we said with Petrucci, Jake Dixon, you have to go through a completely different road and then make the switch, which isn't always easy.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we saw Cal Crutchlow do it. Cal Crutchlow went through British Superbikes, went through World Supersport, onto World Superbikes, and then across to MotoGP, and struggled when he got to MotoGP, man. You see this with those guys. The guys that come from Superbikes, they hit MotoGP or they hit the Grand Prix paddock, and they struggle for a while. And sometimes they do very well, other times they don't do very well. But it's not... going through Superbikes into Grand Prix just isn't the smoothest transition.
No, it's not the easiest route to take. We often see it's easier going the other way, like Scott Redding this year in World Superbikes, doing quite well.
Alvaro Bautista the year before, just jumping on Ducati and then boom, with that 11 races on the trot or something.
Yeah, they seem to do well going the other way. So it sort of shows that maybe people will always argue to and from whichever their favourite championship is, but it kind of shows that MotoGP is still the pinnacle. It's still the hardest championship to ride in.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone is arguing against that, are they? I mean, we have also seen cases, haven't we, of MotoGP riders jumping across and just not doing very well. Stefan Bradl springs to mind. Yeah. He was also on the factory Honda in World Superbikes, so we all know that's a bit shit.
It's a bit crap.
Yeah, exactly. But we have seen guys jumping over onto what should be competitive bikes and not being super competitive.
No.
So it's just very different, isn't it? It's just two very different riding styles. And I guess the one you grow up riding, if you grow up on a stiff Grand Prix style chassis prototype machine, then you're going to be much more suited to carrying on with the really stiff chassis. Yeah. The lack of electronics is an interesting thing as well. A MotoGP bike has got incredible electronics, but nothing compared to the electronics on a World Superbike. Like the World Superbike electronics are just next level.
They are. It's basically a video game. You could probably sit in the pits and ride that thing around.
Cool, geez, don't you be saying that to all these World Superbike riders. They'll be like, fucking hell, Steve, you have a go then. See if you can beat Top Rack.
Hop on that. Show us.
Ooh. Yeah, exactly. You'll be like, I'm really sorry, but I sprained my wrist today, actually. I couldn't possibly get a good lap time. I'll go out and I'll see what I can do, but it does hurt a lot, so don't expect anything from me.
Just going to ride one-handed and probably fucking crash it. Definitely crash it. Get the spare parts trolley out.
Yes, exactly. That's the one. So Sam Lowe's marathon, he's got a Just Giving page or a GoFundMe page or a Virgin Giving, I can't remember what it is. If you want to go help, he's dumping $5,000 of his own money into there, and then any money that is raised here will go to helping the British riders come up into the future. I also fully understand if any of you listening are not from the UK are like, why the fuck would we help that? And I'm not saying you should help that. I'm just rambling here because we've got a short show. So, Steve, next point.
Yes, mate.
Tony Arbolino to join Mark VDS in the Moto2 class next year.
Yes. Yeah, he has signed for the Mark VDS squad.
Yeah, and I didn't write down who he's currently riding for. Is he riding for Grassini at the moment, Tony Arbolino?
Oh, God, yes, I believe so. Don't quote me, but I think it is.
Yeah, I think it is, but I can't actually confirm that or not.
Google it. Do a little Google.
I can't even spell his name now.
Who are we talking about?
Tony Arbolino, we're there. He currently rides for... Oh, no. Let me open up his Wikipedia page here. We're on Skype. My internet's going slow. Things are slowly working. All my work plugins are currently trying to work on my computer, where I'd really rather they didn't.
Really does drain the internet. I don't know why. It does on my computer as well. Not that mine's any good. I have to turn it on at lunchtime when we record because it just takes that long to warm up.
It's less than ideal, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I sent you a message the other night, didn't I? And I just assumed it worked. 2 hours later, I'm like, no, it's still going.
Okay, he's on the Liqui Moly Intact GP team.
That's the one. Yeah, actually, really nice livery on the bike.
It is. Thingy rode for them, didn't he? Tom Luthi rode for them for a long time.
That's the one. Yeah. I like the Liqui Moly paint scheme. That's a nice one.
But there we go. Good job we did Google it, Steve, because otherwise we'd have looked like arseholes because we got that completely wrong. But anyway, he's moving on from that squad and he is joining the Mark VDS squad next year. He will be, I assume, partnering Sam Lowes in that team. Because we know Augusto Fernandez is moving on to the Akiayo squad alongside Pedro Acosta, which we will come to in a moment. It's an interesting move, though. I think, well, it's a great move for Tony Arbolino to move to Mark VDS. Mark VDS are arguably, alongside the Akiayo team, the current benchmark for Moto2 teams. They've won 3 championships in the last 6 or 7 years, or whatever it is, and just an incredible squad. And there was a really nice photo of Tony Arbolino and Mark van der Straten, the owner of Mark VDS, who is just this, like, I think he's a billionaire. I think, if not, he's certainly
an eccentric, motorcycle-loving, loaded.
Yeah, I really like him. He looks so jolly.
Yeah, he looks like a bit of an older playboy.
Really, but an older playboy who's certainly had a good life. He's got this huge belly. He just looks like he's happy munching on caviar. He reminds me a lot of what I imagine the Hesketh team would have been like in Formula One in the James Hunt era. Just very eccentric, and he just looks so happy all the time. I think he's descended from. He owns Estrella Galicia, I believe. Galicia. That's Estrella Galicia. Yeah, exactly. They obviously sponsored. No, he doesn't own them, does he?
I don't know.
Well, I don't know. He's something to do with beer, anyway. Stella Artois is something to do with him, I believe.
He's had a few barrels of it as well.
Yes, quite. Something to do with beer, shitloads of money, really nice looking chap. He's supposed to be a really nice chap, always looks happy, really jolly. Yeah, quite. And just a very, very capable team as well, the Mark VDS squad. So, anyone able to move to that team is certainly looking good for the future.
All right. What was it Heather said when we spoke to her? They are like the perfect team manager's dream. A eccentric billionaire team owner who loves motorbike racing and just signs the checks.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what more could you possibly want if you were the team boss there? You're like, this is a dream. This guy is just going to pour money in as long as we're successful. And we saw their MotoGP project wasn't successful at all, so they just pulled out. What's the point? And this is what I quite like about him: is it's very clear. It's well, if we're not winning, I ain't investing money in it, but I know I can invest money into a good Moto2 squad, and I know we can win, and we can win titles, so that's where my money's going. And I really respect that. He's not throwing good money after bad there. He'll just pull out, and he'll just go do something else.
Yeah, exactly. Good business sense.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like I say, Augusto Fernandez is moving to make way for Tony Arbolino, and Augusto Fernandez is moving to the Akiayo squad here.
Yes.
Which, as we've said, with Mark VDS being such a potent team, there's the only team you could possibly want to willingly leave Mark VDS for would be Akiayo. And I actually think it's the same the other way around. I think the only squad you'd willingly leave Akiayo for would be to go to the Mark VDS team.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's 2 options up there, and those are them.
Yeah.
That's where you're going or where you want to be.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, I can't really think about the last time Akiayo won a championship. I mean, it's looking like he's going to win the championship this year with his Moto2 squad. Zarco did a double for him. Oliveira nearly did it. Binder nearly did it. But I think Zarco was the last time.
I think you're right. Yeah, I was just trying to remember back, but I'm pretty sure Zarco was the last one. Yes, I'm pretty sure he was.
Yes. So, but, they're always a team that have been winning races, threatening podiums, threatening titles, and even Zarco doing a double, and I'm sure they've won more titles before that. I can't remember if they have. I would be convinced that they had. But even 2 titles is way more than most of the squads in Moto2. So
exactly, it's an accolade. How many teams are in there, and could say we've even won 1 championship, let alone 2?
Yeah, exactly.
So there's 2 teams you want to be on in Moto2, and they are those.
Yeah, and actually, it's just occurred to me, Steve, I know what the advantage of taking the Akiayo ride over a Mark VDS ride is, and that is a route into MotoGP.
Well, yeah, there is that. There is that.
There's obviously the jump up to the KTM squad or the Tech 3 squad. There is a direct link from Akiayo's team. And maybe KTM have been looking at Fernandez and been like, maybe, and said to Akiayo, you should probably maybe sign him for us. See how this goes.
Probably. We know these guys can scout people better than we could ever spot them. So, like you say, it's a natural route to come up to the KTM squads.
Yeah, exactly. And it's exciting now that Pedro Acosta is confirmed for Moto2 in that same team. Man. Part of me is looking at this being like, shit, he did Moto3. I know he hasn't even done it yet, but I'm like, he either did or nearly did Moto3 in his rookie year. If he goes and does Moto2 in his rookie year, man, whoa, we are on for something special here.
Yeah.
They're like, what, last guy to do Moto2 in their rookie year?
God.
I think it's Lorenzo.
He was the one that I was leaning on. I was actually trying to think how many seasons Zarco had in Moto2.
A lot. Zarco was a lot of years before he won anything in Moto2. Before Lorenzo, it was Pedrosa.
Yeah. So there's not many people that have done it.
No, even Marquez didn't do it. Marquez nearly did it, but then he almost blinded himself and lost out to Stefan Bradl. Yeah. So yeah, honestly, man, it's hard for the poor kid because he's fucking 17, and there's me already here like, go on, I reckon he can do it, and I'm already piling this pressure on him. And like I've said many times, I'm sure A, he has no fucking idea who I am, and B, even if he did, he'd be like, I just don't give a shit. What do you think? But there's other people that are going to be saying these things.
Yeah, you wait. He's going to be back in that squad this weekend, and he's going to be complaining to someone. Tim said I have to do it.
That would be gold.
Yeah, and his poor therapist is in there. Like, he's just
his sports psychologist. Yeah,
just some British guy with an opinion. It doesn't matter. Yeah, but he said I had to do it.
Yeah, he's just an armchair expert, mate. Honestly, he's never been above 120 miles an hour on a motorbike. He ain't got a fucking clue what he's talking about. Ignore him.
Right. Yeah, ask him to come down here and we'll have a chat.
Yeah. Oh, mate, that would be the phone call, wouldn't it? Pedro Acosta would really like to see you. Well, shit, can you pay for my flights? I'm there.
Yeah, I'd be like, I'm coming too.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be like, I need 2 tickets. 2 tickets.
I'd fucking row there, mate. Steal a half-finished boat. I'm coming.
Yeah. But yeah, so Augusto Fernandez, Pedro Acosta, actually both these moves were only confirmed this morning. It was all rumours up until this point, but now it is confirmed.
I saw it at work today. I was like, oh, yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Rightio, Steve, moving on. Did you see the behind the scenes of Quartararo after the last race?
I saw a tiny bit of it. I didn't see it all.
Okay.
Annoyingly. The only thing I have really seen of Quartararo recently is his social media skipping.
Oh, I haven't seen this.
But he's a bit of a skipper.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me, mate, because skipping is fucking hard, and all of the fittest people in the world are very good at skipping. It's a very underrated fitness technique.
It is, but he does the showboat skipping.
Okay.
Where you sort of hop, skip, and then you're swinging the bloody rope from side to side, carrying it on, doing it one like entire one's jazz. It makes me sick.
Everything about him makes me sick, mate. He's just so good at everything, which we'll come on to.
Yeah. But no, that's about all I've seen.
Okay, so
talk us through it.
It's pretty amazing, man. Like, there was a shot of him in the garage, and he's there. Everyone's celebrating. He's pouring out the champagne bottle into plastic cups for everyone, or paper cups for everyone. And there's a couple of engineers that are like, no, we don't want to drink. And he's like, you do want to drink. You'll have a drink. Have a drink. We'll have the meeting after you've had a drink. Have a drink, and then we'll have the meeting. So then, in the end, everyone has a drink, and then he's like, after the meeting, or we'll have the meeting after the drink, and then he just chugs back the fucking champagne bottle, mate. And these are obviously, I don't know what they are. Are they magnums? They're huge, these champagne bottles.
Big bottles, aren't they?
And he's just knocking this back, and everyone else just starts looking at him like, what? And then it cuts. So obviously he had the meeting a bit squiffy. And then there's another shot of him. He's going back up to his motorhome, and Jack Miller comes wandering past. And Miller's like, oh, well done. Good race, man. Quartararo sits down on the steps and just chatting to Miller. And it was this really incredible conversation that you just see them. And Miller's like, he's like, you just went. He's like, I got past so-and-so, and then I thought, right, I'm going to start reeling him in. He's like, and then I come on to the start-finish straight, and you're at turn 1. He's like, when did that happen? He's like, I was behind you, and then you did 7/10 on everyone in a lap. And it's just this amazing conversation. And Quartararo's like, yeah, I know. But, I started losing it a bit in this section. I started pulling out a bit more. And it was a really cool just to hear them chatting about it. And then you see another guys come up. You see Zarco comes over and he's like, speak to Quartararo in French. He's just saying, yeah, well done. Good shout. Good race. And there's, merci, merci. Miller is still talking at this point to Quartararo, while Quartararo is also talking to Zarco in French. But then Quartararo perfectly answers Miller in English, as if he'd been having 2 conversations in 2 languages at the same time. And then someone else comes over. I think it was Martin comes over. No, it wasn't Martin. Who was it? Someone else comes over and starts speaking to him in Spanish. And the same thing again. He's just holding 2 conversations in 2 languages flawlessly. And it was incredible to see. But I couldn't help but being annoyed, man. Like, he's fast, he's shredded, and he's a fucking polyglot, and he can just hold these conversations all the time. He's an incredible human being, but it was really cool to see.
A lot of these guys make me sick. It's just a collection of people to be highly jealous of. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've got this guy who's, like you say, a multilingual, ripped skipper, and then you've got Zarco, who's just a suave professional Frenchman.
Who's also a polyglot, and can just speak multiple languages.
Yeah, they all pretty much are. We, as Brits, English, whatever you want to call us, we're crap when it comes to languages.
Anyone from the UK, man, we're shit. Yeah. We're really... Anyone from an English-speaking country, actually, I think, as a general rule, is shit with other languages. Unless you're from somewhere near the Mexican border in the States, where you can probably speak a bit of Spanish. Generally, English-speaking countries, we are shit at other languages because... Sadly, the world is aimed at us, and we're at a point where unless you actively go out and search to learn another language, you really don't have to.
No, we just expect because, at some point in history, British Empire, let's call it, colonised most of the known world, and we took our language to you buggers.
Yeah, exactly. Took our language, our religion, our slave trade. So we took a lot. We gave a lot to the world, Steve.
We did give a lot to the world, we gave a, be appreciative.
Yeah, exactly. Smallpox, we gave that out quite willingly.
Yeah, all sorts of stuff. What else did we give out?
I think that was actually more of a Spanish conquistador thing, wasn't it? The smallpox.
I think that was the Spaniards. We'll blame the Spaniards.
Either way, it's colonialism, isn't it? It doesn't matter which way you butter it up. It's dickheads roaming around someone else's country and just taking their shit.
Yeah, basically. But we as Brits, anyone from the UK, just expects, and like you say, English-speaking languages, that we can rock up to any country in the world and just go, I'll have a pint, and they'll all get it. They'll all get it. If we go abroad, we go to a bar and I'll have a pint, please, mate. And they go, what? We're like, oh fuck. We're literally screwed.
You don't panic, Steve. You say it slower and you say it louder. I'll have 1 pint. Without the please. The please only happens the first time. If you have to repeat yourself, there's no please.
Now, see, at that point, I'm just like, oh, crap. Google Translate. I
generally, that's one of the phrases I learn, to be fair. If I'm going to a new country, I always try and learn, hello, thank you, where is the, and then bathroom sites, and can I please have a beer, and can I have a coffee? They're my go-tos, because they are the important ones.
Yeah, I do try and learn a little bit if we go abroad. Sometimes I get it completely wrong. And I'm just making an ass of myself. But, I've often said I'm going to learn a different language, and I never get round to it. I'm going to have to constructively, over this winter, actually try and learn a different language. Give it a good bash.
What would your language of choice be, Steve?
I don't know. I do like it at least. Probably Italian.
That's a fair shout.
I like the way Italian sounds. You hear Italian speaking, I just think, it sounds really, really good. Mm-hmm. But then I think a lot of foreign languages sound really good. You could go the whole hog and learn Mandarin, but I think
I feel like a tonal language, man, is a fucking commitment. Let's stick with European languages for now. Let's not go too mental.
Yeah, let's not get above ourselves. I should probably learn to speak proper English first. I should probably, get a linguist, not a linguist. What are they? Elocution lessons.
They are elocution lessons. Yep. I didn't know what you were trying to say then. I was like, I haven't got a fucking clue what he's talking about. Is it? I can speak English. I don't need lessons. But yeah, you're right. They are elocution. I can't even say it now, Steve. Look what's happened.
Yeah,
you were right.
We're melting. We are melting.
The pressure is. We've admitted we can't speak many languages. We're also just revealing to the world we can barely speak English, and now I'm getting all embarrassed about it.
Oh, we're proper crap.
Right, moving on. Speaking of proper crap, Steve, track limits warnings in World Superbikes.
Yeah, it's not just MotoGP where they have the green stripes. You got to be careful of.
Jeez. And while I'm very on board with the ruling that was delivered, because I think it's a black and white rule, if you want to have track limits, this is how it works. You've got to have it. And if in my idea, for fuck's sake, I can't, this is the problem, Steve. Cannot even speak English.
Yeah, we'd never make good race commentators, would we? Someone's gone, fuck it.
That really would be the problem. I wouldn't have a fucking clue if this was live, mate. I mean, it makes no difference anyway. I never edit this stuff out. But yeah, if it was on TV, it would be very, very embarrassing.
Imagine us doing a commentary booth. Where the fuck are they? What are they doing? Who's that? I don't know. It's red. It's got to be a Jakarta.
Some cunt's crashed. What's happened here?
Yeah. Imagine there'd be someone banging, trying to kick the door in. Stop your language, you press. Yeah. Be calm. Who is it? What the fuck do you want? Where's my pizza?
Yeah, exactly. I'll be like, I've only had 4 beers. Where's the beer?
Yeah.
Anyway, track limits. In an ideal world, Steve, I would have no green paint anywhere. I would have curbs, and I would have grass, and I would have gravel. That would be my ideal world. However, I know that's not how safety in racing works anymore. And obviously, I'd rather have people surviving and being safe and not smashing themselves to bits every time they run off track slightly. So I get why the green paint's there. But I'm also very, very pro the green paint being there. You go on it, you get punished. I'm very on board with that. But this one with Top Rack in World Superbikes, where in Magny Core this weekend, racing with Johnny Ray for the lead. Top Rack is just in front. Go through, I can't remember which turns it was, but it's kind of a left-hand kink. It's not a hard kink at all. And Top Rack runs onto the green by an inch, maybe. It's barely anything.
10 mil. It is basically just that, as the tyre curves round, it becomes that little contact patch on the floor. It was a few millimetres of his tyre.
Well, it was just enough, wasn't it, I think his whole tyre was on it, right? But only just on it.
Yeah, it was there or thereabout. It was close. But anyway, the first I saw of it was when I was watching the race back, was Johnny Ray pulled into Parc Ferme. And the first thing he did was call his team boss over.
Yeah, his crew chief.
His crew chief.
Peraribe, that's his name. Well, I was trying to remember it while we were talking about it earlier, but I'd forgotten. Yes, obviously Johnny Ray had finished second because he tried to get past Top Rack actually into the next corner, but Top Rack had outbraked him and gone. So Johnny Ray finished second, pulled into Parc Ferme, and called over his crew chief.
Yes, and then basically called out the infringement. So,
but it was just a lot of whispering, a lot of hushed, wasn't it?
He's got his helmet on still. No one can hear him.
Everyone's like, "What's going on here?" But he did. He called it out, and he got the race win because of it. Top Rack legitimately ran off, should have been punished, dropped a spot, and that's just how it is. I'm very pro that. I'm very on board with that. I'd have been very on board with it the other way around as well. But the Yamaha team were not. The Yamaha team looked very, very unhappy and said something like, "Look, if this is the way Kawasaki and Johnny Ray want to play, this is now the way we're playing the rest of the season."
Yeah, basically, well, that's true though. Tit for tat, if he's going to do that, they've got every right to do it back. So at any time now, Top Rack's following him, he is going to have to be so straight-laced. Any infringement, he's going to be straight back into wherever Top Rack finishes, be it Parc Ferme in his pit garage. He's just going to be holding his hands up. Look, he was off. Check it out. This corner, then this lap, do him.
Yeah, exactly.
Tit for tat. Go for it but it got them the win, so Kawasaki. I agree with you though. Rules are rules. Black and white. Don't infringe. Yes, it's riding a motorcycle. You can't see it under yourself. It's fast, but these.
But if that had been grass, he may well have fallen off the bike. And the point is that that's not the track. So
no, that is true. It's exceeding track limits, you get punished for it. Simple as.
Yeah, exactly that. Right, Steve, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we will talk about Aragon and preview the upcoming race.
Do it, buddy.
Guys, bear with us one moment and we will be right back with you. Thank you for bearing with us there, guys. We are back, bladders are empty, and we are prepared to dive into our Aragon race preview. So this is the Gran Premio Tissot de Aragon, based in Motorland, Aragon, Spain. This race features MotoGP, Moto2, and Moto3. The circuit, as we've said, is Motorland Aragon. It's 3.1 miles or 5.1 kilometers long. It features 17 corners, 10 of them, importantly, being left-handers. 7 of them are right-handers, which means this is an anti-clockwise track. And you know what that means, Steve?
It's going backwards?
It means that Marc Marquez is going to be on fucking form. Marc Marquez is a man that loves an anti-clockwise track, and he loves Aragon. I would be surprised to see him put it on the top step again, you know?
No, I wouldn't at all. There's a lot of people who have been talking about this, saying how he really does like anti-clockwise tracks. So we could, again, see some progress from Mr. Marquez. So
yeah. I mean, he's always liked an anti-clockwise circuit. We've seen this. He likes Texas. He likes Aragon. He likes Sachsenring, and always has done. But it's more important this year than ever because anti-clockwise means it's a lot less pressure through his right arm.
Exactly. Yeah, now we're going to really see what he can do carrying this injury, but on one of the tracks that he likes.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's good at. He's had good success around here in the past. So,
I mean, I think he's the most successful rider here.
I think he is. Yeah.
So he's back in my fantasy. Oh, he's been in my fantasy squad actually the whole time. I haven't pulled him out of my fantasy squad. He's staying there, and I'm quite convinced that he's going to have a good result, assuming he stays on the bike. Obviously.
Yes, yeah, that's it. He's got to finish the race. So, but yeah, I think you're right. I think putting him in your fantasy league this weekend and probably putting a double down on him wouldn't be a bad shout.
And he's cheap, actually. He's cheap in the fantasy league at the moment.
He is very cheap. You could, if you were allowed 2 changes, you could make a couple.
Yeah,
still
exactly.
Probably have some change.
I mean, my fantasy squad's got shitloads. I've got about 3 million spare at the minute that I'm not using because I put Marquez in there.
No, I haven't looked at mine.
You're like, nah, I'm giving up with that now.
Pretty much.
Anyway, Steve, the track is 15 meters wide, one of the wider tracks we see.
It's a biggie.
And it is a biggie. And the longest straight is 968 meters, which is why the Ducatis have been so potent around here in the past. Although not last year. Last year they were disappointingly bad here.
They didn't go well around here at all last year, so it's going to be quite interesting to watch all 6 of them, how they do this year.
Yeah,
especially
quite.
Mr. Martin, because that boy's been on fire. So,
he has around what should be a good track in Spain for a Spanish rider. I've kept him in my fantasy squad too because I'm quite convinced that he's going to have a really good race.
I think he's still in mine. I'll have a look when we finish recording.
So, Steve, Aragon first appeared on the MotoGP calendar in 2010, and it's the 6th circuit in Spain to host a motorcycle Grand Prix race.
We could afford to lose a Spanish round.
I have said this for many years, Steve. You know I have. We can afford to lose at least 2 Spanish rounds. The only one I'd be super keen to lose would be Valencia, but I also wouldn't mind if we lost 2 and spread those out to other parts of the world.
Yep, completely agree, mate.
So Aragon actually opened, the Motorland Aragon circuit, the complex, opened in 2009, and this was to replace the famous Guadalupe.
Yeah.
I think is how it's said, but please, any of our Spanish or Portuguese listeners, anyone that is anywhere near this area, please get in touch and let me know whether or not I butchered that.
I'm pretty sure that's right, mate.
we're going to go with it. It's the anglicised version, the Guadalupe Road Course, which hosted its last race in 2003's safety issues just had to cause racing to stop there. It was a street circuit. It was through the town, and it sort of sounds like A, no one in the town wanted it anymore, and B, none of the drivers or riders wanted to be there anymore. And I mean, this wasn't hosting motorcycles in 2003. This was only cars by that point anyway.
Yeah.
Motorland Aragon is a massive, massive complex, Steve. Shitloads of stuff going on here.
Yeah, it's a big place.
Yeah, there's the full road course, there is karting, there's off-roading, there's a techno park which features loads of high-end R&D for automotive manufacturers. Like, this place has got it going on, which is probably for the best, because it's a bit of a trek from everywhere. It's sort of close to everywhere, but not actually near anywhere.
Yeah, it's one of those places where you look at it on the map and think, oh, fuck, I've got to go there. It's a chore, but when you get there, it's worth it. So it's probably one of those places where the guys are like, yeah, happy to go there, but whatever.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And I didn't know this, Steve, but it was designed by Herman Tilke. I don't know if you know much about Herman Tilke or not.
A little bit, not much.
Okay, so Herman Tilke is famous for creating race circuits around the world, and very famous for creating a lot of Formula One circuits. He did Sepang in Malaysia. He did a lot of circuits across the world, but most of them are a bit shit. Like they don't create good racing. He had a couple of good ones. Malaysia Sepang was a prime example of this, where he kind of followed the same formula of long straights, heavy braking zones, hairpins that really didn't work in a lot of cases, and yet he still paid an absolute bomb to keep making racetracks. But again, he's obviously made some bangers. He's made Sepang, he's made Aragon. I mean, at some point maybe we'll go through his entire list of circuits he's made and we'll see how many of them. Yeah, it would be, because a lot of them are shit, but people still like him and people still pay for him, because to be fair, he's the only circuit designer I could name. So, you know,
I can't think of any.
Exactly. Like, it's one of those things you don't think of, do you? Like, if I'm like, I want to build a race circuit, I'm like, surely I can just design it. But obviously I can't, because I'm not a fucking genius here. You need someone who knows what they're doing, or the circuit's gonna be shit.
Yeah. It's not something you could just doodle down on a beer mat and then go, well, build this. You know,
yeah,
you've
exactly.
got to think about this. There's proper things to think about.
Yes, certainly.
Crack it in there. I couldn't think of the word then, which was geometry. You're gonna have to actually get these things right. You can't just have like every corner can't be 45 degrees. You're gonna have to. Yeah,
exactly. I like geometry as well, Steve. I think you just made that word up, but you just rolled with it, and I really do like that.
Yeah, I just went with it.
That's gold. But no, you're right. You can't just go and doodle a track, because actually it's got to take in, unless you've got all the money in the world, it's got to take in account of, you know, the land, the elevation change where you are. Is there any obstacles you can't get rid of? Like, there's so much to think about, and to make good racing as well, the track needs to be at a certain point. You're right. The geometry of the corners needs to be right. You need the straights to be right. There's a lot to think about, and even an expert like Herman Tilke is constantly slated for making shit circuits. So
yeah.
Anyway, one day, Steve, we'll go through a list of Herman Tilke tracks, but that day is not today.
No.
Most wins round Motorland Aragon, Steve. We've already said it. It goes to Marc Marquez with 5 wins overall. The rest of the guys that were anywhere on that list all had 2. The Jorge Lorenzos, the Casey Stoners all had 2. Interesting, actually, if you go on the MotoGP.com circuit information for Aragon, which is obviously where I get a lot of this information from, all 3 guys on the top 3 win list, being Marquez, Lorenzo, and Stoner, are all in their Repsol colours. So it's a really good advert for Repsol Honda, that, because all 3 pictures are just them. Yeah, and obviously it's just their most recent picture in MotoGP, not Formula One. What the fuck am I talking about? So the outright lap record of Aragon goes to Marc Marquez, who scored a 146.6 in qualifying in 2015. So that's also the pole lap record. The race lap record is from Jorge Lorenzo, a 148.1. So like 1.5 seconds slower. Feels like a big chunk.
That does. Yeah, surprising. Some of these tracks we've spoken about have had big jumps between pole and race lap record. Others are quite close.
Yeah. But this certainly feels like one of the bigger ones. Also set in 2015, though, which makes me think the conditions in 2015 must have been incredible for all of the records to be set then.
Yeah, I was then looking at that, actually, thinking that's actually quite a long time ago now. Normally, we see things getting broken year on year, or every couple of years at each track. But 6 years is a long time.
Yeah, it is a long time for no lap records, especially when we consider 2015. Were we still on Bridgestones in 2015?
I believe we were. I believe that could have even been the last year.
Yes. Yeah, you might be right. 2015, 2016, around then it was certainly the last year.
Very close.
Which I guess explains some of the difference between the lap records here, because we know the Bridgestones were very, very good in the early laps of a race, but in those early laps you're going to be full of fuel and not actually setting lap records.
Exactly.
Whereas the Michelins, we know, can hold on better throughout the race. But yes, 2015, just ideal conditions, and 6 years without a lap record broken. I'm sure we'll see it broken this year. It can't keep going like this.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was just thinking we must see at least the pole, or no, maybe race lap record broken.
Yeah. Last year's podium for the Aragon GP, and I've just realised there were 2 races there last year. I think this is for the Aragon one and not the Teruel GP. But the Aragon podium was Rins in first, Alex Marquez in second, Mir in third. Alex Marquez binned it in the second race, which would have been the Teruel GP. So I think this is right. I
think you are right, mate. Yeah, I was just trying to think which one he crashed in. But I think you're right. This is the Aragon one, not the Teruel.
I can't actually remember who won the Teruel GP last year, Steve. Can you?
I can't, no.
I remember Taka Nakagami should have won it and then ended up binning it in turn 1. Aside from that...
I can't remember offhand.
No, I also remember thinking that Alex Marquez was going to win it. I did.
Yeah.
I was quite convinced that he was going to come back from this second place and he was going to come and win it. We know he got this second place after scoring a second place in Le Mans. He was on a bit of a tear, so I was quite convinced he was going to go on and do it. I'm also trying to fill time while I get the MotoGP website to work so I can look at the results of last year, but my computer, as per usual, Steve, while we're on Skype, is running incredibly slowly.
I can see the little colour changes in the background as your screen's changing.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm just saying, just let him go. Just let him go with it.
Yeah, the light on my face. Here we go, Steve.
He's
right.
got it.
I have got it indeed, my friend. Last year's Teruel GP, which was the second race in Aragon, had a Johan Mir third place, so he matched his finish across both races, and Alex Rins second place. So Rins scored a first and a second in the 2 races here last year.
A couple of weekends.
The winner, Steve, now I look at it, I knew this, but I'd just completely fucking forgotten about it because he's been off for so much this year, was Franco Morbidelli.
Of course it was.
So there we go, which is probably a good sign for one Fabio Quartararo this year because he knows a Yamaha can perform around this track.
It's going to be a good race. It's going to be nice.
It will be nice indeed. So the race distance, Steve, for MotoGP is 23 laps. That's 72.5 miles. A Moto2 race will be 21 laps, 66.2 miles. And Moto3 is 19 laps at 59.9 miles. The weather, Steve, good chance of rain on Friday, but only a 10% chance for the rest of the weekend. Air temperatures 20 to 30 degrees around race time. So we're probably looking at a dry, solid day, maybe some rain on Friday, but that's probably not going to play into things too much. Most of the guys have a lot of experience around this track, especially considering we were there for 2 races last year.
All right. So hopefully, fingers crossed, no wet race.
No, and I'm on board for a wet race. I like a wet race, but I also like a dry race. I just like a race, actually, Steve. Just like a race.
Just like bikes going around tracks.
Yeah, exactly that. Predictions, Steve. I am going all out here. I'm going for a Marquez win, a Quartararo second, and Alex Rins third.
Ooh, it's a nice podium, actually.
I think it'll be a fun one to see, certainly. I'm sort of on board. I very nearly went for a Marquez Quartararo podium because I just think the idea of 2 Marquezes on the podium at the same time would have been nice.
That would be good. That'd be nice to see. God, can you imagine the dad jumping around the garage?
Oh, Jesus. He'd never stop.
Out.
Yeah.
He'd be hopping around there for 3 weeks. Jesus. Yeah. Hard to get him out. We can't leave yet. He's still bouncing.
Julio's still going. He's still off.
Yeah, Tigger on speed. Or who do I think? I think he's going to continue his good form, and I think we're going to see a Quartararo win from a Jorge Martin second.
Yeah, I'm actually putting Martin as someone to watch because I think Martin is going to be incredible this weekend.
Yeah, from a Marc Marquez third.
You're expecting a Marc Marquez third. Yeah, I actually need to mark that I've picked Marc Marquez and not just Marquez. I realise that doesn't work
Marquez,
anymore.
Then you've got a little bit of leeway.
I could have a Marquez Espargaro podium because that's giving me 4 shots at filling 2 spots there, and I will be golden.
Yeah, just doubling your odds up. I like it.
Exactly. Steve, that kind of brings us to the end of the show, man.
We're pretty much there, fella.
We are pretty much there.
Going on this week. There'll be a lot more to talk about next week.
Yeah, we'll have a race week. We will be recording a day early next week, Steve, because I'm off hiking and I need to get the recording in before I go. So we're going to be a day ahead of our usual news cycle, which means we might miss a couple of bits. Hopefully not, but the show will be released at the normal time anyway. So it gives us plenty of time for us to chat bollocks, the news to come out and prove us wrong, and then our show to be released.
Or what normally happens is we'll come up with some predictions, then it'll happen.
Yeah, and then we'll look like idiots because we're just claiming that we came up with the idea that of so-and-so moved somewhere else. You know what I'm trying to say, Steve.
Yeah.
Right, guys, thank you all very much for listening again. It's been a slightly longer show than I expected. Not our usual marathon length, though, as of recent weeks. But, guys, if you've got anything you want to say to us, anything at all, nice, bad, probably not going to reply if it's bad. If it's nice, we'll reply. Anything constructive, you know the drill by this point, guys. You can find us on...
We are For the Love of MotoGP, and you can find us on Instagram and Twitter, or if you like and you want to, come and join our Facebook community. It's still growing, it's going well, conversation is still flowing, it's going well. Come and join in. Come and let us know what you think about MotoGP and us. Or if you want to send us an email, drop us a line. We are For the Love of MotoGP @gmail.com.
That's it, guys. If you do want to join the Facebook group, guys, you'll be treated to questions like this. This came from Ryan. I'm not going to read the answers. If you want to go find the answers or you want to answer yourselves, you're going to have to join the group. But the question was, my wife asked me a question earlier while watching Superbikes, and it's been bothering me all day. If all MotoGP riders were in the Hunger Games, who would win? Anyway, so guys,
leave you with that thought.
Exactly. We do have the Fantasy League to run through, Steve.
Yes, let's talk about the Fantasy League.
We'll talk about the Fantasy League quickly here, guys. We'll run through the top 10 in the Fantasy League, which I don't think we did last week.
No.
There were some big changes after last week, in fact.
There were some big changes.
10th place, then, is Sick58 from the USA. 9th place, Slim Fresh from Canada. From Great Britain is Patronus STD, still one of my favourite names. Although going to need to be changed for next year, which is upsetting. 7th place from the USA is Free Iannone. Tiger Motorsport from Great Britain is in 6th. And then, there I am, Steve, in 5th place with Tim's Titans.
You had a nice jump.
I put a double on Quartararo, which is why. I also had Marquez and Martin, so I'm pretty annoyed about that. But yeah, my double on Quartararo really did pay big there. I think I might have scored more points over the weekend than anyone else in our league, thanks to that double. So that was quite the result. That brought me back up from outside the top 10 to well within it. Nambucca Boy from Australia is there in 4th. And from Great Britain in 3rd place with 1,206 points is Team Crash. Half a point ahead in 2nd from the USA is Here Comes The with 1,206.5 points. That's fucking tight, mate. That battle for 2nd and 3rd, that's where it's at the moment, because storming ahead from the USA is Kragers on 1,000 264 points. Now, Craig, as we've been talking to in the Facebook group, turns out is crushing it everywhere he plays here. He's been in well within the top 10, top 20 in the USA League, very high in other leagues as well. So we are playing with, MotoGP fantasy royalty here at this point.
We have got a top player in the league. So, yeah, step it up, people.
Yeah, so we all need to step up. Actually, Steve, he's also got a fucking boost left as well.
I know, that's the most sickening thing. He is sitting there with a boost left, with a nice lead, looking smug.
Yeah.
He's not getting a t-shirt.
I don't think we can actually choose who gets the t-shirt, Steve. The rules have been laid down now, my friend.
They have,
we might just delay it. So that's the Fantasy League, guys. If you want to join in the Fantasy League and you're not there already, you're probably not going to be winning a t-shirt now. It's getting too close to the end of the year. If you're playing a Fantasy League elsewhere, you can drop your team into this one. You'll keep your points and stuff, assuming you're playing on the MotoGP official Fantasy League, that is. I'll drop the link in the show notes, guys. If you haven't already joined, you want to join for the fun, get ready for next season to work out how the software works. Actually, it was a big improvement from last year to this year on the software. I expect another improvement this year. There was a lot of questions fired off. We got a lot of emails as league creators and league owners, or whatever they call it, about what we'd like to see from the Fantasy League. So I assume we'll be doing the same thing next year. So hopefully it will improve again. We'll get more fun out of it, and we'll keep growing it. It's been fun this year. I've really enjoyed it.
It's been good.
And that's it, guys. That's brought us to the end of the show. So thank you all very much for listening, guys. Stay safe out there. Look after each other. And we will speak to you next week, guys, with our full Aragon race review. Speak to you then, guys. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Music is by Andrew Greenwood. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.